Alright guys, time for part 5. Part 5 of on... What happened here? Hulk, what did you do? Hulk? I'm sure he's fine. Next question comes to us from Ultimate Collector 1. He's the first Ultimate Collector. He says, on the spot, are you ever going to review figures like South Park or Family Guy toys? I actually have neither figure lines. The South Park figures and the Family Guy figures both are things I would collect. Just for some reason or another, I have not gotten around to collecting them. I mean, certainly, if anybody would love to send me Family Guy toys or South Park toys, I would love to review them. But no, I don't actually own either series of those toys. But you know, down the road, if I do end up acquiring them, I will definitely do reviews of them. Next question, again, Mr. Prime Productions. I believe you already asked a question. But hello again to you, sir. No, actually, you know what? I think he's only asked one question. At any rate, he says, on the spot, what's the best thing you got for Christmas? To this day, one of my favorite gifts I ever got for Christmas was when I was 5. Yes, a very long time ago. When I was 5, my parents bought me the G.I. Joe Sky Striker. The Sky Striker was the white jet. Usually it was always fighting, or it was being chased by the Cobra Rattler. But I got the G.I. Joe Sky Striker, and I remember it very well because I love that toy. It came with Ace, G.I. Joe figure Ace, and he had a parachute, and the chair, you could actually pull the chair out and pull it out of the cockpit, and you could actually have him falling down in his parachute. I love that toy, and a friend of mine had a Sky Striker too. And back in the day, G.I. Joe toys, as you remember, had decal sheets. You could apply the stickers where you wanted to. I was always a perfectionist, even when I was 5 years old. And it seems an ongoing thing for me. I always put my stickers in the right, exactly where they need to go kind of thing. My friend, on the other hand, put the stickers wherever he wanted to put them. And what was kind of neat was that we both had Sky Strikers, but his was a little different than mine because he applied his stickers different, and we always pretended like we had dog fights and stuff like that. But I think to this day, that still stands out as my favorite toy I've ever gotten was the Sky Striker. And I thank my parents, thank you, for actually getting me that Sky Striker. I had it actually for a couple of years. I think I ended up giving it away out. I still grieve. I grieve that I gave that away, but I don't have it anymore. But I think the Sky Striker is still my favorite Christmas gift I've received. Next question is from the Lego Filmer. I assume he films Lego related things. He says, on the spot, what's your favorite zombie movie? If you've watched my other reviews, you'll know that I'm not a big zombie fan. I have a friend of mine who's a huge zombie fan, and it probably wasn't until like the last year or so that I got into zombie movies. My wife, actually, for those remembering, that my wife builds sets for movies, and she actually worked on the Dawn of the Dead remake, which was actually shot here in Canada. She worked on the remake, and I think that was actually the very first real zombie movie I actually watched from start to finish. Then I think I watched Land of the Dead and whatnot. It's only within the last month or two that I've gone back and I've watched the original Dawn of the Dead. I watched Day of the Dead, and my same friend talked me into going to see Zombieland, which Zombieland was fantastic. I love Zombieland. So I would say, and I've also watched Shaun of the Dead. So I've really tried to get as much zombie movies in as I can lately to try to catch up. Still not a huge fan of zombie movies, but I like them a lot more than I did. But my favorite zombie movies, I think I would say, is probably Zombieland, just because I thought it was funny, it was very entertaining, very fun to watch, and probably the original Dawn of the Dead. Those are my two favorites. Yes, I'm sure the real die-hard zombie fans will probably say, well, you forgot Night of the Living Dead, you forgot this and that. Again, I really haven't watched a lot. Shaun of the Dead was good too, but I think I probably like Zombieland and Dawn of the Dead. Those are my two favorites. Next question comes to us from the Ultimate Collector. Oh, there you are again. Ultimate Collector number 1. He says, on the spot, what's your favorite review you have done in the past? Better do some research for this one. You, my friend, I have gone and checked this one out. I tried to go back and watch some of my older videos. Now this, I'm not sure what you necessarily mean. Whether it's my favorite video of a toy I've done. Like, so if Hulk is my favorite toy, what was my favorite review based on the toy, or what is my favorite review of, how it turned out. I would say, if we're basing it off of whether what reviews turned out the best and which ones I was happiest with, I would probably say a couple of them come to mind. I still to this day really like how the Chucky one came out, the Chucky in the box. Still to this day, that's one of my favorites. The Madman, I really liked how the Legendary Heroes Madman figure turned out. Actually, I made a montage when I first changed my design of the review spot. When I have the new one now, I made a little montage. A lot of my favorite videos have made it to that. And like another one is the DC Infinite Heroes Superman, where I commented that his hands were the size of catcher's mitts. That's one of my favorites as well. I was going to keep this as a surprise for everybody, but the end of the year, and I've already started doing it now. The end of the year, I'm actually going to throw together a year at a glance, like the year of 09. I'm going to do like a video montage of all my favorite, the review spots, favorite moments. I'm going to actually throw them all together and do a video montage. It's going to be longer than the one I did a couple of weeks ago or last week. It's going to be longer, and it's going to have quite a bit more clips to it. So stay tuned for that, guys. So if anybody, like for example, I don't know, Ultimate Collector here, wants to know what my favorite reviews are, stay tuned for the end of this month, and what I'll do is I'll throw together a montage. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. The next question comes to us from Autobot G. What's up, G? He says, on the spot, what's your favorite X-Men mutant? I don't know if you mean the X-Men mutant, like the X-Men, or a villain, or you just mean the overall X-Men universe. I answered this question before, that my favorite X-Men used to be Wolverine. And, while Hollywood and, the in thing now is to like Wolverine, I don't like Wolverine as much as I used to, but my favorite at one point was Wolverine. Other mutants I really like was Mr. Sinister. I like Omega Red, if you want to call those guys mutants. And surprisingly enough, one of my favorite mutants too is also, Juggernaut, and also the Blob. I always love the look of the Blob. A really heavy set. I love the costume. I love the Blob, I believe, in the X-Men arcade. I really like the look of him. I like the 90s looking Blob. I don't like the Blobs, from the later designs and stuff like that. But I like the 90s style of Blob. And actually, overall, I like the 90s look of the X-Men. So that holds true also for like Juggernaut and even the X-Men designs, the Cyclops and stuff like that. But probably I would say my favorite mutants are Juggernaut, Blob, Omega Red, Mr. Sinister. I was a huge fan of Strife back in was it Strife? The clone of Cable? I believe it was Strife. There was a 12-part miniseries called Executioner's Song back in the 90s. I was a fan of Strife as well, but I think one of my favorite mutants still is Mr. Sinister. So hopefully that answered your question. Very long-winded. Yes, I admit, very long-winded. Next question is from 23XX Shadow XX23. He says, on the spot, what's your favorite Iron Man suit? This one's going to be a little tougher to answer because, unfortunately, I'm not a huge Iron Man fan. I have a good friend of mine, Sean. Hello, Sean. Hello, I don't even know if you're watching this, but hello. He's a huge Iron Man fan. He would be able to answer this a lot better than me. Aside from the X-Men, aside from the Iron Man movie, the recent one with Robert Downey Jr., I really was not a fan of Iron Man. So I don't really know what kind of answer I can give you. I can tell you, though, figure-wise, one of my favorite designs of the costume is the Marvel vs. Capcom Iron Man, where he's got a little smaller dome. I can tell you one of my least favorite Iron Man armors, though, was the Ultimate Iron Man, the one where he's got that big. He almost looks like he's a deep sea diver. He's got this huge helmet. I think his costume is like red and gray. I hate that costume. I think it looks terrible. But sorry I can't answer this a little bit better. 23XX Shadow XX23. Next question is from Adrian Soto 2012. He says, on the spot, do you ever think about getting a display area where you can put all your action figure collection in? Unfortunately, and I mentioned this already before, the living arrangements I have right now, it sounds like I'm renting, but the space I have right now is very limited. So my entertainment room where I go and watch movies and TV and everything else, my collection, basically what I can fit out, resides on top of those bookcases where all my movies are. And the majority of it, though, is in the closet. So I don't really have much space now. Eventually, down the road, I'm sure as every collector says as well, down the road when I get a house, I want to have a room designated just for my collection. If for some reason I'm still doing YouTubing then, and hopefully it's not going to be very long down the road, I'm going to actually want to put everything on display. Have a nice display like some of the Marvel Legends YouTubers out there. But unfortunately, my display right now kind of sucks. Kind of sucks, I'm afraid. He also asks, on the spot, do you like to read books? And if yes, what ones? My friend, I don't read at all. One would almost say I'm illiterate. I wouldn't necessarily say that. But I'm a big fan of picture books. No, I'm not 5 years old, but I'm not a big reader. I just can't get into reading. I try to sit down and read, and my mind wanders. I always say this to my wife. My wife is a big reader. She loves reading books. I'm a visual person myself. I love visually watching something like a movie, like artwork. I love looking at stuff like that. Reading text, I start reading and then I zone off and I lose interest. I will tell you though, one of my favorite books to read, if you can call it a book, is Where's Waldo? I'll wait while all the laughter stops. All right. I like coffee table books where I can just pick up something and I can flip through it. Like the DC Universe and Marvel Universe encyclopedias. I love reading stuff like that. I love reading reference books that have pictures, like collector's books, like toy collecting books and stuff like that. Movie artwork books, stuff like that. But regular literature books, I just can't get into. He also says, on the spot, what type of music do you like? I like a range of music, my friend. A range. I like 80s music, being a 80s kid myself. I like rock music, classical music. I like rap music. I like dance music. It's very hard for me to describe to somebody the kind of music I like, because I'm one of those people that I like everything, providing I can get into the song. I would almost go as far as to say that I even like country music, again, if I can get into the song. But there's some stuff I just can't get into. Like some of the real like fluffy kind of dance music, I just can't get into that. I like the more like edgier dance music. Yeah, so I like a range of stuff. Like my favorite bands, like U2, I like AC/DC. I like Funk Dubious, Beastie Boys. I like Guns N' Roses. Yeah, so all those kind of things. And his last question, he says, on the spot, what do you think about NWO, government, and politics? Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, my friend, I don't really follow news and politics and stuff like that. I don't really like to involve myself in things like that because I don't know. I just, yeah, you know what? I mean, I don't even vote. I don't even vote, and the real reason for it, I mean, yeah, everyone should say, yeah, go and vote. You have a freedom, you have a right to vote, kind of thing. You know, don't let the government decide for you. But ultimately, everybody, can have a campaign and say, I promise this, I promise that, and you vote for them, and they get into office, and then they just do whatever they want, anyways. They don't follow up with their agreements. They break their promises. So I mean, government politics, I just stay away from politics. I just don't get it personally. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like I said, I really just don't get into politics. Just out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Oh, I got a question here from JRA Nightmare. Good day to you, JRA Nightmare. What's going on, man? JRA Nightmare is one of the guys I really enjoy watching his videos. So I kind of it's a bit of an honor that I got a question from him. But he asks, what action figure do you wish to have that have not found? What action figure would I like to get that I have yet to find? Or find, if I could say that right. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's always a case where you can find figures if you really want, if you look on eBay, but sometimes the cost of figures is just insane. I know I really wanted to get some of the DC Universe Series 10 figures that have still eluded me. I really wanted to get the Joker figure, the Man-Bat. I mean, I'd like to get the whole set to build in Imperiex. But I mean, I would really like to get the Joker. I kicked myself that I never grabbed any of the DC Universe Series 5 figures from Walmart when they first came out. I really wanted to get the Riddler. I mean, really, that was a strong wave. Like the Eradicator, Adam was in it. Who else was in it? Amazo. I mean, that was a strong wave, and I didn't pick it up at the time, and boy, they are ever expensive now. But I wouldn't mind getting those. Anti-Venom I still haven't picked up from DC Direct. The Marvel Legends Face-Off, Wolverine and Sabretooth, I haven't picked those guys up either. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. I'm sorry that I really didn't have one definitive answer. I think the one I'm really wanting to get, though, is the Joker. I'm a huge Joker fan. And maybe one day I'll get him, I'll pick him up, or I'll find him. But hopefully that answers your question. And again, thank you very much, sir, for sending me a question. I am honored. I am honored to answer one of your questions. Next question comes to us from one Jason V. Fan. And I'll probably end this part with this question just because I'm kind of getting up there in time. He says, on the spot, which is your favorite out of the three? Leatherface, Freddy, or Michael Myers? Well, that's a pretty quick answer. My favorite of the three is Michael Myers. He also says, on the spot, do you want the NECA Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees prop mask from the remake? Yes, indeed, I would like that. I do have the Freddy vs. Jason mask and glove. I did a review of it, but the review didn't really turn out as well as I wanted it to. The lighting was bad. That may eventually make it as a throwback, But I really like the fact that the glove is holding the mask. I really thought that was cool. I'm really surprised that they never used that more as the advertising of the movie. Instead, they always had the, the side profiles and then looking at one another. But I always thought the glove holding the mask had more of an impact. But I would really like to get the Jason Voorhees prop mask. I've looked on eBay as well, and there's a whole ton of Friday the 13th mask replicas that these designers have made. And I'd love to get my hands on a couple of those masks with the straps and stuff like that. Maybe hang them on my wall kind of thing. But I would like to get that maybe down the road, the remake mask there. So hopefully that answers your question, one Jason V fan. Thanks for sending it. And I also want to take an opportunity to thank everybody that has sent me a question so far that I have answered. I've got a series of questions that I still got to go through, but I appreciate that everybody took the time and sent me these questions. Hopefully my answers are good, and hopefully you guys got your answers all right and found out everything you needed to know. But I'm going to wrap this up here. This is the end of part 5? Ooh, part 5 already. So stay tuned for part 6 of On the Spot 6, and I'll see you guys then.